Now today we are going to study the standardization. So what is the standardization? Anybody would like to explain to me that what is the standardization? Can anybody would like to explain to me what is the standardization? What do you mean by the standardization? Okay, I am going to tell you. So standardization means to maintain cleanliness or to keep in standard condition. Standard condition means if an item has a particular weight, say if an item has 10 kg of weight, and if an item has a specific width or specific length, then and it has a particular location, then that the item of, of particular weight must be located and must be found at that specific location. So we have to maintain a standard for each and everything. Now the question is that how to maintain. So the standardization is saying that we have to maintain sort, set in order, shine. So what does that mean? Establishing standard routines. How do we maintain the standardization? We have to establish some standards. We have we have to establish some standard routines. We have to make a routine for that. Some practices there. That means so that we can pick is a particular item from a place and then put the item back its place. Then visual controls and then schedules to sustain the first three S's. So what we need to do, what we need to establish standard routines, practices, visual controls, schedules to sustain the first three S. So developing standardized work methods and procedures also there. At the same time, we have to develop the SOPs for each and every method and each and every task. So suppose if there are three employees in three shifts working on a machine, three operators are there and they are working on a machine. And if don't have a standard operating procedures, then the operator in the shift A, he will start the machine in a different way, and in the operator B, in the shift B, the operator in the shift B, he will start the machine in a different way, and in shift C, the operator who is coming in the shift C, he will start the machine in a different way. So we have three different methods to start the machine. So what will what will impact? It will impact the efficiency of the machine. It will impact the effectiveness of the machine. We have three different methods to start the machine. That's why if we have three different methods, that means we have three different variations. And if there are variations, then we have the defects, we have the problem, we have the disagreement. So if we want to agree on something specific, we must be aligned with each other. So there must be a specific standard. So there must be a specific standard. Specific standard means there must be a specific procedure, there must be a specific method, there must be a specific standard to, to start the machine, so that all three operators will start the machine in the same way. Now why standardization is necessary? Okay, so standardization That's why we can understand here why standardization is necessary. So standardization ensures discipline. That means if there is a discipline, there will not be backsliding. Nobody will backslide. That means if someone has reached to a some specific standard, then he will get habitual to do that. So he is in some discipline. So there is no need, there is no issue of backsliding. Backsliding means if you reached in fourth standard, then there is no chance that you will you will remain at the fourth standard if you study in a disciplined manner. So if you will not study in a disciplined manner, there are the chances that you will stay at the fourth standard and you will not promote it to the fifth standard. So standardization is saying that we must follow the discipline. Now maintain improvements. Okay. So why standardization is necessary? To maintain the improvements. So here we can say that keep things clean, organized and efficient. But what is the standard of cleaning? What is the standard of organization? What is the standard of efficiency? So we have to make at which rate our machine is going on, what kind of organization we want. So what is the passing marks standards generally? What is the passing marks we have generally? Can you tell me what is the passing marks? So our passing marks for any examination is the minimum passing marks is 40%. We can say that if a student achieve 40% marks, so he is considered as pass. So this is the standard for the passing an examination. So at least to pass the examination, a student has to secure 40% marks, right? So similarly, if you want to improve, you must have a standard. Otherwise, you cannot improve. Then the next is create uniformity. So everyone follows the same process. So there is no different processes. If there are different processes, you cannot achieve the quality of the product. You cannot find the quality products. You cannot get the uniformity. So if you want to be a if you want to have a uniform process, so for that we have to develop the standard operating process, standard operating procedures, and a specific process, extended process, so that everybody will follow the same process. Now simplifies training. If there is a standardization, it is easy to train the new people and makes deviation visible. If there are abnormality, if we have if we have some standard, then we can identify the abnormality or deviation. So if we have 40% passing marks, then we can say that how many students are fail and how many students are pass. This we can identify, right? So अगर हमारे पास स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन रहेगा, अगर हमारे पास स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन रहेगा तो हम इजीली आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं कि कितने स्टूडेंट्स हमारे फेल हुए, कितने स्टूडेंट्स हमारे पास हुए. So if we don't have standardization, we cannot identify how many people are, how many students are getting fail, how many students are getting pass. So there is a, this is, that's why we need standardization. Okay, then makes deviation visible, and it saves times. So if we have some standard, then we need to make fewer decisions, and that's why if we have fewer decisions, we work fast. And then next is promotes best practices. So अगर हमारे पास स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन रहेगा तो हम स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर्स हैं, तो हम बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस को ही अचीव कर पा रहे हैं. बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस को ही हमने डॉक्यूमेंट किया है और उन्हीं बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस को हम रेगुलर फॉलो करते हैं, तभी हम कहते हैं कि हम स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर्स को फॉलो कर रहे हैं. राइट. सो नेक्स्ट इज why first three S's are not enough. Why we need standardization? Many people are saying that if we are implementing short, set in order, shine, then we need not to implement standardization and sustain. So my question is that why first three S's are not enough? Why we need standardization? As I already mentioned to all these reasons why it is necessary. So here we can say that we can understand what the short does. Short helps to remove unnecessary items but not maintain it. And Seiton, it helps to place the items properly, right? So without Seiton, you cannot place the items properly. So Seiton helps to place the items properly in a specific order. And what Seiso does, Seiso removes the dirt and mesh and ensure that they will not come again. But Seiketsu, what does Seiketsu do? So Seiketsu, if there is no Seiketsu, no standardization, then after some time, short, Seiton, Seiso, all will be eliminated. You cannot see the short, you cannot see the Seiton, you cannot see the Shiso if you don't have standardization. So Seiketsu is like the glue. Seiketsu is like the glue that holds all first three S together every day. Now, what are the standard practices to implement the Seiketsu or standardization? So we have some practices, some standard steps. The first one is identify the best practices. Second is create visual standards. Third is develop standard operating procedures. Fourth is involve the team. Then next, standardize audit and inspection routines. Use training and communication tools. Ensure consistency across areas. Document and archive standards. And here we have encourage feedback and kaizen. And then last one is sustain through leadership support. So these are the some standard, these are 10 standard steps. Here we have 10 standard steps for implementing standardization. Let's see one by one. We will study these 10 standard steps one by one. So the first one is identify the best practices. So what are the, how do we attain the best practices? For that, we have to observe and document our daily practices, whatever task we are doing. We are we are adopting some specific process. So how we are doing or how we are performing our tasks, we have to continuously observe and then document. And so the most efficient where we have to stop, or where we have to document, the most efficient way, safe and clean ways. These these three criteria, when we perform our tasks with efficiency, with safety and clean way, then we can say that we are doing the best practices. So if we are putting our tools to their original position, then we can say that we are performing our tasks with efficiency. So like in this way, you can see there the tools are placed at their specific locations. Now the second is the second is create visual standards. So how, actually standardization is the creating the visual standards. Why? Because our mind does not want to take stress to read each and every information. So that's why we have to create some visuals, because our mind likes visuals, understand visuals uh, early. So if you see that reading a story, rather to read a story, it is enjoying to see a picture or a film. So because our mind capability or capacity, so that's why we need to create control charts, color coding, visual control charts, labels, shadow boards, infographics to display best practices. Like these are some of the signs when you are moving on the road. These signs you can easily identify or visualize on the road, like stop, no entry, give way, all motor vehicles, no motorcycles, no bicycles, etc. Similarly, you must have observed these kind of signboards on the road. Similarly, if you place your tools in a specific manner, specific order, and so our mind like to uh, like to observe. So here you can see that these signboards on the road, and on the road we can easily identify. So why, what, how it helps to each and every driver on the road. He can easily, every driver can understand easily where he is going and how much he is he has to cover the distance to reach his destination. So this is the visualization. Similarly, on the metro station, you can see there, you see the you can hear the voice that step just before the yellow line, stand just before the yellow line or yellow pedal. And what is this? So in the next here you can see these arrows, these arrows are for the people who wants to who the people who want to enter into the train. Here it is. And these arrows are for the people who want to come out from the train. And why these strip? Why these strips? Why we have these strip? Can anybody tell me why we have these kind of strip? This type of strip is for the blind people, so that blind people can identify that they are at the just below the yellow line. So similarly, we have the warehouse floor marking, and we have the OSHA color designations. So if we have black, this is the work in progress. Black and white, keep clear in operation. Black and yellow, this means potentially hazardous area. And blue color is there, raw materials are processing. Green color, finished goods are there. Orange, inspection areas are there. Red, scrap and defect areas. Red and white, keep clear safely. Yellow for movement, walkways, traffic paths, aisles. Yellow line, clear yellow line. Similarly, we have the end-on signal, end-on lights. With the problem or issue, red. If we have red light, that means there is a problem in the machine. मशीन पे कोई प्रॉब्लम आई है, लाइट अगर रेड है, एंड ऑन सिग्नल्स है, तो मशीन पे कोई प्रॉब्लम आई है. देन इफ येलो है तो स्टॉप एंड स्टार्ट, रीस्टार्ट. स्टॉप हुई से रीस्टार्ट करना. ग्रीन है तो रनिंग स्मूथली. एंड इफ देर इज अ blue light, that means there is a defective product. And if there is a white light, so we have production line is down. And if there is a purple color, this means there is a safety hazard. So this is the signals of end on lights, and this is we call the Kamishibai board. Kamishibai board is used for the audit, strange audit, random audit. We have different processes in different sections. So we make the cardboards at the station. In this board, we put the cards, and randomly when we have morning meeting, we pick a card, and then we start auditing the particular process. This is known as the Kamishibai board. Then we have control boards. Control boards are called the performance boards, huddle boards. We can understand by these boards where we are progressing, how we are progressing. Okay. Now the next step is for standardization is develop standard operating procedures. So how do we develop the standard operating procedures? We have to talk with the people who are performing the tasks, and then we have to note down the each step of the critical tasks, and we have to ensure that the SOPs must be simple, visual, and easily accessible. So for example, how to clean a workstation or maintain a machine. So we have to write down the first task, second task, and their sequences, third task, fourth task. How to clean a workstation. So what should be there for the first task? We have to remove all the items from the from the table first, and then clean the table first, and then put the items on the table at their particular location and clean the items one by one. And then the next step is involve the team. To involve the team, what we need to do, engage the employees in defining the standards, defining and improving the standards. So how it will help? It will help create the ownership and accountability to sustain the practices. So if we want to want to make them feel that they are the owner of their tasks or their area, so we need to take the suggestions from them, what kind of procedures they want, and we need to give enough opportunity to engage them in defining the SOPs. So like 5S checklist, what kind of tasks we have to audit under the 5S checklist. Then the fifth step is standardize audit and inspection routines. So design a regular schedule for internal 5S audits and self assessments. Design a regular schedule. Use visual 5S audit scoreboards. So here we have to set the audit procedures. So like what kind of activities or how to audit the sorting, how to audit the set in order, how to audit the shine, how to audit the standardization, how to audit the sustain, and then we have to put some scores for them. Okay, so we have to make a weekly 5S audit scores and feedback sessions. Now use training and communication tools. So what we need to do, why we need to do the standard operating procedures for training? So consistently upgrade our employees on our standard work procedures. If we have newcomers, new employees, then we can train them properly on our current practices. So this is the objective of using training and communication tools. And then we have consistency. What do we mean by consistency across areas? Consistency means everybody is doing the same work in the same method, same task in the same way. So like, and everybody is following the same kind of signs, standard signs. Like we have danger sign. This is the danger sign. And this is the high visibility jackets must be worn in this area. We have to specify this. So all these are the signs. And what does mean? What does that mean? By this sign, this sign is saying that unauthorized entry to this site is strictly forbidden. So nobody should be, if there is this kind of sign, nobody is allowed to go. Everybody should not be allowed to there, right? And this sign is for, this is a hard hat area. We have to wear the helmet in this area. We have to wear the protective footwear at this area. So for consistency in each department, we have to follow the same kind of signs and same kind of standard operating procedures according to the work. So label and schemes are there. Now the eighth step is saying that document and archive the standards. So we have to document each and every task, their activities and the process and the method, how the best practices are being performed. So similarly, like we have a flow chart, here, sequential flow chart of a pre-shipment inspection. So this kind of flow chart must be there for each kind of task or each activity in the process, so that the operator or the inspector or the any employee, he will not be confused, he could not be confused because of the different methods. So there must be a standard operating method so that employee will follow the same method every time. The next is encourage feedback and kaizen. The ninth step is encourage the feedback and kaizen. So we have to give enough opportunity to each and every employee so that he can share his idea, and we have to create the employee suggestion box form in this way. So this is the employee suggestion box form. What we have, what is the current situation in the employee form, what we have, what we can ask, what is the current situation, and about which topic he wants to give suggestion. Preventive accidents, improving quality, improving increasing productivity, all these things he has to tick on that, and then he can share the details in the suggestion form. So like describe the proposed solution, what is the current situation if there is a problem, what could be the possible solution, proposed solution, and what resources would be required, needed, and please detail your thoughts. So this way we can create a suggestion form and involve the employee to improve or to make the kaizen. Okay, next one is sustain through leadership support. So here the 10th step is saying that if we don't have support from the leadership, we cannot sustain the standardization. So leadership means there must be the the performance boards where we can study the downtime, operational equipment efficiency, we can understand the feedback, what are our daily targets, and what we are getting actually, what are the quality issues. So all these should be discussed by the top management with their employee, and how they are performing their tasks, and ask for the visual feedbacks, how we can improve. The leadership team, they must be involved in the standardization. Okay, so we have done the standardization. So anybody have any question regarding standardization? Do you have any question regarding the standardization? Okay, I am moving on the sustain. What is the sustain and habit formation? Okay, so what is Shitsuke? Shitsuke or sustain? What do you mean by Shitsuke or sustain? The meaning of Shitsuke or sustain is discipline, training to be well mannered, or better we can say that self discipline. Self discipline. So Shitsuke is about the behavior, change in our behavior. Shitsuke is about behavior. It is not about the documentation, it is about the behavior. So if we have prepared a document, but if we are not following the documented behavior, documented activities, if the documented activities are not in our behavior, then we cannot sustain the best practices. So it ensures the cultural transformation. So 5S can only be come into the culture when it comes into our behavior, and this is not the one time activity. So practice, 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 practice. So a saying is there, a doha is there, करत करत अभ्यास ते जड़मती होत सुजान, रसरी आवत जात ते सिल पर पड़त निशान. What does that mean? इसका मतलब है करत करत अभ्यास थे जड़मती होत सुजान. बार बार अभ्यास करने से, repeatedly when we practice, we get intelligent. Our mind will become sharp. If we continuously practice, our mind will become sharp. But if we don't practice, our mind will get dull, dumb. So like if a rope is coming, going forth and backward on a stone, then we see that there is a mark on the stone. You will find a mark on the stone after after few days. So how? Because of the practice, we are practicing moving the rope on the stone repeatedly. So the doha is saying that this doha is saying करत करत अभ्यास ते जड़मती होत सुजान, रसरी आवत जात ते सिल पर पड़त निशान. So Shitsuke is about the practices, continuous practices, disciplined way, practicing in the disciplined way. Now the question is, why Shitsuke is needed when Seiketsu is there? Is Seiketsu not enough for habit formation? So these are my two questions. One is, why Shitsuke is needed when Seiketsu or standardization there? And is Seiketsu not enough for habit formation? So Seiketsu alone is not sufficient. So without Shitsuke, we cannot sustain Seiketsu. We cannot sustain the first four S's. So Shitsuke ensures that people care about those standards even when no one is watching. So we are doing our work even when there is nobody who is monitoring us, but we are doing our work. So it is something like that. If there is no one in the training room, but still I am doing my duty. So this is something like that. Even though if one person is there, still I will deliver my lecture. So a simple analogy is that Seiketsu is writing a diet and workout plan. So you have a diet and workout plan, but if you are not following that plan, that you are not following the Shitsuke or sustain, you cannot sustain. If you want to reduce your weight, decrease your weight, you the the dietitian gives you a diet plan, but you are not following the diet plan. Then how would you reduce your weight? You have to be disciplined about the with the diet plan. Now Seiketsu versus Shitsuke. What are the key differences? Okay, what is the meaning? Seiketsu is about best practices, establishing the best practices. It is establishing the best practices. And but Shitsuke is instilling habits, or it is about our behavior, whether we are following the standard practices or not. Then about focus. Where is our focus? So under Seiketsu, our focus is on systemization, creating rules and procedures. But for Shitsuke, it is our internal discipline, self-discipline, or continuous commitment. Then objective of Seiketsu is prevent backsliding. One should not slide to the back step. If we are moving ahead, then he continuously move ahead. There is no hurdle that there is no push that pushes him. There is no issue or problem that pushes him back to the uh, previous step. So making good practices or uniform practices. But Shitsuke is make five as a personal habit or a cultural norm. The what kind of tools we use? Under Shiketsu we use checklists, SOPs, color codes, schedules. And under Shitsuke we do audits, we do coaching, leadership modeling, personal accountability. And for time orientation, Shiketsu is for short-term implementation. But for Shitsuke, it is for long-term cultural sustainability. Driven by Shiketsu, driven by external controls, processes, and structures. Shitsuke, driven by internal control, our personal discipline, our habits, our mindset. For example, a standard work instruction for arranging tools. We have standard work instructions, but workers are not following. When workers always returning tools to their places without remembers, then we can say that we are sustaining. If the workers not returning the tools to their original places, that the Shiketsu is not being followed. Okay. Now, what is habit? What is a habit? What is habit? So, habit is a routine behavior for which we need not to do some extra efforts or conscious efforts. We automatically the do the same thing in a regular manner in a disciplined way. But we have good habits and we have bad habits. Like smoking is a bad habit and jogging is the good habit. How do habits form? So habit loop proposed by Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit. We have a habit loop, and this is suggested by the Charles Duhigg. A psychologist is there who suggested the how to habits formed. So there is a cycle. At the first place, something that trigger you, something that triggers you. So for example, when you finished your lunch, you feel sleepy. So the after having lunch, the trigger is that you feel sleepy, and then you take action. What action you will take? You take a nap. So this is your behavior. A trigger is there, a trigger is there, and there is a and in response to the trigger, you do the action. You take the action, and this is known as your behavior. And then you will get the reward. What reward you will get? You feel refreshed. You feel refreshed. So this is your reward. So there is a loop. This loop is known as the habit loop. Trigger, routine, reward. Trigger, routine, reward. Or cue, routine, reward, or trigger, behavior, result. So when this cue, routine, reward loop repeats, the brain automates the routine to save efforts. So when when we do the same thing in a repetitive manner, our brain starts saving the efforts. And for a long time, if we repeat the same type of activity, if repeat the loop for a long time, we don't feel burdened to perform the task. Now, how to build a good habit? Okay, we understand that sustain we can sustain only when we have when we be when we become habitual. So let's take an example for 5S workplace. At the end of the shift, at the end of the shift, the trigger is shift is going to end. This is the trigger. And what the operator is thinking, the trigger is that so his behavior in response to the trigger, he clean and return the tools to its original position. And the next operator will feel that it is good. He feel good. He feels good, and he praise the previous operator. So as a reward, the operator gets the praise. So this is the 5S workplace example. Habit formation. End of the shift is the trigger. Then cleaning the and returning the tools to their original position. This is the behavior. And getting the praise. This is the reward. So when we work like this for a long time, we get habitual. Now let's understand how to build a good habits. How to build a good habit. What are the golden rules? Okay, definitely we must have a cue. So we could have a poster or sign. That's why if you want to achieve a goal, you must write that goal in front of you somewhere on whiteboard so that the the poster will trigger you continuously. And then start with small activities. Small activity. So instead of cleaning the whole wardrobe, you start with cleaning the one shelf daily. And after 1 week, you will find that the whole wardrobe is cleaned. Now make it rewarding. So there is a cue, make it easy, and then make it rewarding. Then celebrate your progress. So you break down the tasks into different steps, and after each step, you you reward. You need to reward yourself, and then repeat regularly. So what is the rule? Consistency is key. If you consistently do the same thing for 21 days, it will coming into your habit. And if you continuously following the activity for 66 days, it will become your lifestyle, and you are becoming habitual. You become habitual to do that. Then use accountability. Why do bad habits form so easily? Why do we get bad habits so easily? Let's try to understand. Because the first reason is instant gratification. So when we consume alcohol, we feel relaxed instantly. When we consume junk food, we feel craving for the junk food, and we feel satisfied very soon. So our brain releases the dopamine and reinforcing the behavior quickly. So our brain signals to us that please take one more bite, please take one more burger, please take one more sip of the alcohol. So we are getting the instant gratification. So if you are sitting with five people who are constantly or continuously drinking, you will find that you start behaving in the same way, and after some days you will start taking the alcohol. Low effort. In the bad habit, low efforts are there. Bad habits requires no discipline, no planning. You can do anything by in any way. So watching TV while while sleeping, before sleeping you watch TV. So there is no effort is required. You just watch TV, and when you get into sleep, you don't know, even you don't know. And skipping the brushing in the night, there is no effort is required. Similarly, because of environmental influence or modeling, so kids and adults copy what they see around them. So you see that if in a house, if the adults quarrel with each other, the children will learn the same behavior, quarreling behavior. Very soon they learn quarreling behavior because they absorb the environment. That's why our brains are wired to repeat what feels good now, even if it is harmful later. So the bad habits, why the bad habits repeats? Because we feel gratification, we feel good, even though we know that this is harmful for a longer later on, but because right now we feel happy, that's why we want to, our brain wants to repeat that behavior. So that's why we get the bad habits. In this way we get the bad habits. Now, why are good habits hard to form? But similarly, why in the opposite of that, Why are good habits hard to form? Because we get the rewards delayed, and we need to self control and efforts. The third thing is that the first thing is that we get the rewards delayed, and the second thing is that we need to have self control. And the third thing is that we need so much efforts. So if we want to jogging, if we want to waking up early, if we want to jog daily, then we need to do efforts for exercising. That's why it is hard to form good habits. It is not easy to wake up early in the morning. We have to develop the habits of waking up early in the morning. Now, how the good habits are investments and our brains, yeah, it's okay. Good habits are investment and our brains prefer instant payoffs. So we need to think about that our good habits are like the investments, and they will pay off after some time, after 1 year, 2 year. So if we habitual to jog daily, so our health, we don't have health crisis. We need not to pay the bills to the doctor to maintain our health, right? Now let's understand the standard steps to practice Shitsuke or sustain. So first thing is that build awareness and understanding. The We need to educate the team members why Shitsuke is important, why the habit formation is important. Because without habit formation, we cannot sustain the 5S. So build awareness and understanding about the 5S, then lead by example. We need not to teach or the employees. We must show our behavior. Everything what we want to teach, we must have to perform before teaching, so that they can believe on us that whatever they are being taught, that is exactly the same the leader is going to do. So culture is built by what seen as repeated, not by posters or instructions. So nobody can learn from the posters. The people learn from the behaviors. If if somebody shouts on you, then you automatically absorb absorbs that behavior and try to shout on the the same person who is in front of you. So you are absorbing the behavior. But if someone talks with you politely, then definitely you are absorbing the same behavior and replying to him in the same kind of tone. So lead this is the lead by example. Then reinforce 4S habits daily. Encourage daily routine of 4S, start to end of 5S. So you can put a rule that every employee, before leaving the shift, he has to do the 5 minute activity of cleanup. So there should be a visual reminder. You can put the posters in the at the workplace, checklist at the workplace, and so that employee can identify that employee can get the signal from the posters that he has to clean up the workplace before leaving the workplace. The next one is implement regular self audit. Every employee must be trained like that. He he can able to self audit. whatever he is doing, he he must monitor himself, where he is going, what kind of activities are, what are the results, what are the consequences of that activities, so that he can improve accordingly. The next point is provide feedback and recognition. So this is another important point to sustain. Recognize the consistent behavior. If an employee consistently doing his duty in a sincere way, he must be rewarded, and he should be uh, selected as the 5S champion of the week, like this week. So reward and recognition play an important role to sustain the habits, to form the habits, or to sustain the 5S principles. Now correct gently but consistently. So if you find that someone is not doing his duty properly, so how would you correct him? Then coach him immediately and empathetically, politely, and point out his mistake in a decent behavior, and do not blame his blame for his mistakes. So that kind of behavior should be there. Now integrate into onboarding and training. So whenever there is a new employee who is on the orientation program, he must be he must going through the he must go through the 5S principles, and he must train and retrain regularly, especially when teams changes. So it is about the training or retraining. So whenever a new employee entered in the organization, he has to be trained on the 5S principles. He has to be trained on the work methods. He has to be trained how to use the tools. He has to be trained how to behave. He has to be trained how to run the machine. He has to be trained how to follow the procedures of the process. Then create a culture of pride and ownership. Every employee must feel the proud while paying his duties. Let them feel this is their workplace, not someone else's rules. He must feel the honor of he must feel honor of his workplace. In this kind of behavior, when the employee feels that this workplace belongs to him, so he will take care of each and every small and large thing at the workplace, and he will definitely follow the rules and regulations. He will definitely follow the standard operating procedures. He will definitely follow the steps of the process, and there is a less chance to creating the defect. There is a less chance of deviation in their behavior, in his behavior. And then document the best practices. So maintain the living document or playbook or pictures, video examples, and then encourage the suggestions and continuous improvement. And the last one is review and improve periodically. Important activity. If you want to sustain, then you have to review all the activities, all the habits, all the rules and regulations, whether they have to be improved, they need to be improved or not. If they are in a good working condition, that is okay, and if they are not in good working condition, then you have to improve the standard operating procedures. So for that, you have to create the checklist and improve regularly roles to make sustainability and natural and smooth, right? In this way, you have to review and improve periodically. So at the end of this, the sustain, we can say that discipline discipline is not about teaching. Discipline is not taught, it is lived and absorbed. So if someone watching you daily waking up at the morning 4 a.m., he or she, your children, automatically will follow you. If you getting up late in the morning, the children will definitely getting up late in the morning. They will absorb the discipline which you are following at your home. Similarly, at your workplace, your employees will automatically follow your routine, your best practices. That's why the sustain is saying sustain is about the discipline, and discipline is not taught, it is lived and absorbed. This is all about the 5S training. Yesterday I have covered short, set in order, shine. Today I have covered standardization and sustain. I hope you have enjoyed this training.